I don't want to be a pessimist, but these aren't the conditions you want to climb a big wall in. When you need more than 20 hours in good weather, how long does one need in bad conditions? The question is, what to do in this situation? We can't take any risks here.
Charles Darwin nannte den Berg
1,000 meters higher than everything around it. Charles Darwin called this mountain the most sublime spectacle in Tierra del Fuego. And when you love mountains, you can easily become enthusiastic about this mountain. Its isolation, its beauty, and perhaps even its diva-like qualities. The mountain shows itself so rarely, yet when it does, it's unbelievably beautiful, like something from another world.
So unfassbar schön und so wie nicht von diesem Planeten.
A trip to Sarmiento is basically a logistical nightmare, because the mountain is in the middle of the ocean, and you can only get there by boat.
Fritz
Miller is a mountain guide and one of the strongest mountaineers I know. Axel Voss, I know from several climbing trips, and we get along really well. We both have the same enthusiasm for the mountains. It's essential that everyone stays in a good frame of mind. Our point of departure is Ushuaia, the southernmost city in the world. Ushuaia is in Argentina, and the mountain is in Chile. So you have to travel from Ushuaia to Port Williams to take care of the formalities. From Port Williams, you travel west through the Beagle Channel, then into its northeast arm. From there, you continue in the Bajanero Channel, and then through the Cockburn Channel directly to Monte Sarmiento, which basically borders the Cockburn Channel. The Pia Fjord must be one of the most beautiful fjords in Tierra del Fuego. You sail into the mountains, and at the end of the fjord, 3 glaciers flow directly into the ocean. And above, you have mountains over 2,500 meters high. One of the most spectacular fjords on the planet. The mountains here are the highest in the whole Cordillera Darwin. The weather did us a favor to clear up completely. We had half a day of sunshine, turquoise green water, blue skies, and the summits were completely free. That was one of those moments, a gift from the gods. No one has ever really lived in the west of Tierra del Fuego. The only people you find here are the fishermen. It's difficult to imagine under what conditions they live out here. They come from Punta Arenas to fish between 2 to even 4 weeks under the most miserable conditions. And during that time, they collect between 60 and 70,000 sea urchins. There's a rumor that licenses have already been sold for salmon breeding here. In other words, everything that is prohibited in Europe is still happening here, meaning the usage of antibiotics and overfeeding the fish. The salmon breeding companies are moving from the north to the inhospitable south. In that way, one fjord after another is being used, and when it's no longer possible, and the fjord is basically biologically dead, they move on to the next fjord, which basically means the destruction of nature around here. At the moment, man seems to think that he controls the world. I think this is only a short-term and idiotic way of looking at things. We humans are so caught up in technological and communication madness. So much so that the real beauty and peace that you find here get completely lost in the normal stress of everyday life. Here you can get back to your roots. I think time spent here would be good for anyone.
Today we have full weather conditions, and we have this sailing on this area that is quite complicated. If you have 5 or 6 degrees of water temperature, it's supposed that you will last on the water before get into hypothermia 6 minutes. The life jackets are only to take a dead person, you know, from the water. That's the truth. I don't want you or any of you on the water.
Ahí nomás. Hasta que veamos cuánto viento es.
Welcome back to Escandayo. Ja.
I think I've spent about 5 months in total here.
Ungefähr verbracht.
Doesn't really feel good at the moment.
Nicht so richtig gut an.
Wir haben dann im Boot auf einen besseren Wetter.
Back in the boat, we waited for a good weather forecast. We received daily updates, but it never looked as if it was going to get good enough. So it basically meant waiting and hoping that sooner or later, good weather would finally arrive.
Hin zum besseren Wetter.
Ja, nach insgesamt 10 Tagen Warten in der Baia Escandayo.
After waiting for 10 days, we got a weather forecast that promised a rise in air pressure, which got our hopes up again.
Und zwar bis auf 1030 Millibar. Und das setzte doch nochmal Hoffnung.
It was clear this was going to be our last chance, since we only had 2 days left before heading back.
Tage, die wir überhaupt verbringen können.
And I still hoped that for these 2 days, we'd be seeing good weather.
Wir haben nicht nur das Problem mit dem Neuschnee gehabt, sondern
We not only had the problem of new fallen snow, but we're also fighting against wind speeds of up to 100 kilometers an hour.
kämpfen müssen. Ja,
It was a battle against nature's forces.
die Naturgewalten. Die Hoffnung stirbt zuletzt.
Hope is usually the last to go, so we still had a little hope left. But after we heard the new forecast, it was clear. We only had 1 day left with more or less good conditions. Basically, I knew then that this was it. Again.
Das ist eine Diva, dieser Berg.
The mountain is a diva,
Wunderschön anzusehen,
a beauty to look at,
arschgefährlich und
but dangerous as hell.
null zuverlässig und spielt mit seinen Bewunderern, ja, wie eine Diva eben so zu sein hat. Und das war auch
This morning she was once again playing with her admirers,
kitschig in so einem
bathed in a pink light,
getaucht,
enveloped in clouds, not allowing us to see the main summit.
konnte. Dann zog er mal für einen ganzen Moment, ganz kurzen Moment frei.
Then, for a few minutes,
Dann hat er sich
you could
wieder
actually see it,
gezogen und man dachte,
before it was
ach,
covered
das war's
again
jetzt.
and you thought that was the end of the spectacle, only to later once again see it in its entire beauty for about an hour.
Und dann konnte man ihn so vielleicht eine Stunde so in seiner ganzen Schönheit.
From our advanced base camp,
also inklusive
we could see the
der
entire
Karte,
mountain,
die gesamte Basis war frei.
which is shaped like a pyramid,
1500 Meter
a
hoch.
1,500 meter high, perfectly shaped triangle.
Also, ein Kind
If a kid were to draw a
ist
mountain,
letztendlich ein Monte Sarmiento.
he would draw Monte Sarmiento.
Ja, wir sind dann eben
We decided to make the most of the remaining half day of good weather and took on a smaller summit that was rising right above our advanced base camp. And eventually, we were maybe even the first people to climb Cuerno Negro. Obviously, it was a smaller summit compared to Monte Sarmiento, which is 1,000 meters higher. But it was still an extremely impressive summit anyway. The unique thing about Tierra del Fuego is that everything is so wild, so isolated, so deserted, and at the same time so demanding, so impressive and in a way so serious. One goes through the mountains here with a different level of consciousness.
Also man geht hier wirklich mit einem anderen Bewusstsein durch die Berge.
Of course, it wasn't a nice feeling standing there and knowing it hadn't worked out. At the same time, it's a pretty common situation in mountaineering. And I've learned to deal with this. When something challenges me, then I'm willing to keep coming back for it. But only time will tell.
Aber es zeigt sich dann erst in Zukunft.
To experience nature's beauty up close and so powerfully, it would do us good in our lives and help us to become more humble.
Dass wir vielleicht bescheiden auch werden.
A lot gets lost in the fast pace of our lives.
Geht, glaube ich, sehr viel verloren.
I'm more in harmony with myself here.
Bin ich auf jeden Fall mehr bei mir. Ob mit Gipfel oder ohne Gipfel, das spielt da nicht so.
Whether I've made it to the summit or not, it really isn't important.